Hi, I'm back with another recreating K-pop outfit sewing video. The last time was so much fun and I really love these shorts still, and I'm still wearing them a lot. And I wanted to get some more of those K-pop inspired pieces into my wardrobe. So I wanted to make another one, and this time I decided on another BLACKPINK outfit, this time from Jennie from the Lovesick Girls era. In the music video it looks like this. This is the outfit I want to make, but I prefer the stage version of it because it seems like less work and more wearable in everyday life. So I decided to do this skirt, and this is what I did. So first of all, I went out and actually bought some fabric this time. Usually when I do something with jeans, I just use some old jeans of mine, or my brother, or my father, or my mother, or anyone who gives me their old jeans. But this time I bought fabric at a store. And I actually asked an employee there what they would recommend for the project, and I showed them a picture of Jennie in the outfit that I wanted to make, and they looked rather confused, but in the end I chose this fabric and it worked really well. So here you can see me making marks of how white I want the stripes to be, because again, I feel like every project I make starts with cutting stripes. This one as well. So I'm making the marks here, and then I connect the dots, and then I cut it out. Simple but tedious work. Out of these stripes, I then made loops by folding in the ends inside and pinning it together like this. I don't know how to describe it with words, but I hope you can see it in the footage that I took. But it's more like making strings out of the stripes and also sewing in the hems so that it won't fringe out. And when the whole stripe is pinned like this, it starts to curl up, and I thought it looked a little funny, so I played around with it a little bit. Yeah, and then it was time to repeat the process, cutting up more stripes and pinning them together, and cutting up another stripe and pinning it together and another stripe. You get the drill. Well, of course I didn't do that. That would have been kind of stupid. So I cut out all the stripes and I pinned them all at once. And then it was time to sew them. And I ended up with 24 jeans strings that were still kind of curly, but that didn't matter. That's okay. We don't mind. Next, I cut out 6 wider stripes, which were for the waistband and for the front where the buttons will be. And I laid 2 of these stripes right sides facing each other on top of each other, and then I pinned them together to then sew them together. Wow, that was a lot of repetition of words. Each other, together, together. Moving on. I then had to flip those wider stripes inside out so that the right side would be on the outside. And this was a struggle, as you can see by the dynamic, or rather chaotic, camera angle here. So, sorry for the shaky footage. After that was done, I flattened the stripes using an iron. And then it was already time to pin the strips we made earlier, the bands we made earlier, to the waistband in about the same distance from each other, so that they were spread evenly across the waistband. And I also always pinned 2 of these strips together in one place. And this is what the waistband looked like with all the strips pinned onto it. After sewing them on, I pinned the button bands on each end of the waistband and sewed that on as well. And then it was already time to knot. For the first attempt, I tried to make the knot as close to the original as I could, based on what it looked like. And by my wording, attempt and tried, you might have guessed that this didn't work out because this knot was using too much of the fabric. So I lost length of the skirt and it didn't look good. So in the end, I chose a different method, a different type of knot. And I don't think it's a big deal. In my opinion, it looks a lot better like this. The first knot, or the knot that is closest to the waistband, is made with the 2 strips that were already together, that were sewn on together on the waistband. And the second one, further away from the waistband, was then made from one of these strips that was sewn together with one of the neighboring strips. I hope that makes sense to you, because I don't know how else to describe it. And the same applies to the next one. So basically the strips that were now knotted together separate and build new bonds with neighboring strings. And with that, the main part of the skirt was already done. All that's left was the buttons. And for that, I bought a set of
button pliers.
Is that correct? I don't know if that's correct. I hope that's correct. So I never used one before, but I thought it couldn't be that complicated, so who needs the instruction manual, right? However, I quickly came to realize that there were more parts than I expected, and that it wasn't as self-explanatory as I would have hoped. So yeah, I needed the instruction manual. And the worst part is, the instruction manual didn't even have actual instructions. There were only pictures, no explanations, and it was not helpful at all. And as someone who's never done this before, I was so confused. So I ended up needing a YouTube tutorial. We love them YouTube tutorials. The next thing I had to do was marking where I wanted the buttons to be. And after a while of more or less freehanding, I figured it would be better to accurately measure it. Because I wanted it to really turn out great, so yeah, I had to accurately calculate the distances. Then I made all the markings, fought with a fly, and I made sure that all the buttons will have the same distance to each other and are centered in the band. Before I could attach the buttons, I first had to poke holes where I made the markings. Do I recommend doing it the way I did with the scissors? No, because I later stabbed myself. But I think the last time we already established that with making clothing yourself, it's never really complete if you don't leave a stain of your own blood on it, right? I then assembled the... what was the word again?
Button pliers.
Right. I assembled this thing and then started my first attempt at attaching a button. My first attempt didn't really work out because I was too timid to really press this thing on. But with my second attempt and a lot more force, I succeeded. And with my first button being a success, I continued with the next buttons. I poked another hole and I pushed another button in. Got a cramp in my hand. And here is where I realized that I was actually bleeding from cutting through the fabric and my finger. Oh yeah, and I haven't mentioned that yet, but I used press studs instead of the buttons that are like on jeans, where you have one button on the one side and a hole on the other, and you put the button through the hole. You know? I thought that was a little bit too complicated for me, so I used press studs instead. And with one side done, I had to readjust the button pliers for the other half of the buttons, because the way it works is that one half of a button is put on the one side and the other half is put on the other side, or on the other fabric. In my case, bands, jeans bands. So when you put them together, they click into each other and they hold together. And for the other half of the buttons, there were different applications needed, so I had to adjust it. So after that, I could continue with the other half of the buttons, which basically worked in the same way. So first I needed to poke a hole, and then I just needed to put in the other applications for the buttons into the pliers and press that in as well. So in principle, it's the same thing as before. And I'm aware that I'm not explaining this well, but I don't know how else to explain it. And here you can see me nervously trying closing the buttons for the first time, like the first finished button, and checking whether I maybe messed up the placing of the buttons, but it worked out perfectly. So I was surprised and pleased and relieved that my measurements seemed to be correct. So I just continued with the rest of the buttons, stabbed myself in the finger a few more times, and then I completed the whole side. And of course, I had to try out all the buttons if everything lined up as perfectly as I hoped it would, and it did. So, are you ready for the final reveal? Feel free to accompany my dancing with your own singing. I'm really in love with this skirt, how it turned out. I'm really proud of the buttons I made, because I was a little bit intimidated doing this, and I'm really happy that it turned out so great. And yeah, I'm really happy with the result, and I hope you are too. So if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more content like this, then please give me a thumbs up, because that's the easiest way to let me know that you enjoyed it and you would like to see more of it. You can also write a comment down below giving me feedback on how I did this time, how you liked the skirt that I made, or even giving suggestions of outfits that you want to see me recreate or attempt to recreate. Can be Blackpink, it can be another girl group or boy group, why not? I'm glad to do more of these videos. I have a lot of fun and it makes my wardrobe more special. It gives me more fun stuff to wear, and I love this. Hopefully nothing that's requiring too much skill, because I'm still a beginner, but maybe one day I'll be skilled enough to do really difficult stuff. We'll see. And in the meantime, you could also subscribe so that you won't miss when I upload another video. And then I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!